It all depends on what we mean by science. In the modern world, we have one meaning of science, which means we do repeated experiments and we come to some conclusion, and we can repeat the experiment and we can come up with the same observations again. And so it is, let's say, provable by repeated demonstration or whatever like that. So this, of course, is largely based upon what we see. We can also say that a science is something which is traditionally received and is proved by its scriptural basis and by the approval of many ancient sages. So that is the type of meaning we're giving it to when we say astrology is a science. We're not expecting it to be proved by modern scientific methodology. It is something which is approved by the Vedas. In fact, Jyotish is one of the angas of the Vedas, very essential to performing sacrifice and chanting the Vedic mantras. So it is approved by the Vedas, it is approved by ancient authorities, and has never been rejected by them. Why does it work, or how does it work? So there is what is called karma. And according to the Vedic literatures, karma means that our past activities give results at the present time, in this present birth. We have repeated births, and past activities, for instance, sinful activities or violent activities, will give us suffering in this lifetime. And those particular reactions, or say karmic reactions, are distributed throughout our life at certain times. So astrology is simply a way of predicting the times of those particular karmic reactions that we're bound to get. So therefore there is a reasoning behind the events. It's not just suddenly haphazardly events are thrown on us. There's a reason behind these particular circumstances or events. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that every event in our life is predicted or forced upon us by karma. Some of the events are produced by ourselves in this lifetime. And in fact, even the karmic events which we're forced to accept in this lifetime are not caused by anything but ourselves. We do activities, we get results. So most people will accept in this lifetime, if you do activities, you get results. And if you do bad activities, you get bad results sometime, even in this lifetime. If you become intoxicated and drink too much, then you get sick. You get liver problems, or you may get lung cancer. So that's the immediate effect in this lifetime. Nothing to do with some mystical carryover of karmic reactions from life to life. Even if you don't believe in karma, in this lifetime people believe that the activities you do now will have long-reaching effects even in this lifetime. So we just carry that a step further and say you have many lifetimes, and you get many effects that carry over into other lifetimes, and we can predict them. We do it by astrology. This is not the only method. You could do it by many other methods. And of course in China they have methods, and other countries they also have methods of predicting. But astrology is not only in India, but a method that is universally accepted because it's predictable through calculation. In other words, we can, just giving a certain time and a place, we can predict where the planets are going to be at that time. So it gives us a little bit of a limited way of accurately defining positions of planets, and based on that we come out with predictions. So the only, what we call the knowledge here that we have to have is, how do the planetary positions become karma? So that is what astrology is, interpreting the planets to tell us our karmas. Well, as I said, karma, predestination, more or less the same thing, in the sense that past activities produce results in this lifetime. Activities from past lifetimes give results in this lifetime. We do activities which harm others, we get a similar effect on ourselves in this lifetime. We do activities which cause good to others, we get some happiness in this lifetime. So that much is what we call predestined. But there are many events in this lifetime that are not predestined. And we create those events or circumstances by our activities of this lifetime. So actually it's a combination of what we've done in past lifetimes plus what we do in this lifetime, and then out of that we get this life, so to speak. So it's not that everything is predestined. Predestination means that we cause the present, and at the present we also cause the present and the future. If we assume that Vedic astrology can actually predict circumstances or events in your life in the future, then obviously that has some advantage. Everybody wants to know what's going to happen. And of course the science says, well, you can't know that. But of course, in one sense we can to some degree. If a man works hard, we can predict he'll get some money, maybe not a lot, but some money. And if he's got great intelligence and abilities, he'll get more money if he works hard. So in some sense, due to the probabilities of the circumstances now, we can project into the future of this lifetime certain 80% possibilities, 50% possibilities, 90% possibilities, etc. So even without astrology, we can do that to some degree. Astrology is just one way of making it a little more definite in one sense. Huh? So if we got the knowledge of the future, we can do two things. If we have bad events in our future, like sickness or accidents, we can do activities to alleviate or avoid those circumstances. Nobody wants to get sick, nobody wants disasters, so we can do some activities using our intelligence to avoid those things. So that's, I say, a benefit. And if we're going to have, let's say, good results in terms of, let's say, wealth or happiness or whatever, then based on that, we can make plans in our right now for the future, so that we can utilize those assets to the in the best way. No, like any type of knowledge, it's voluntary, and you may use it or misuse it also. So it's not that everybody has to go to an astrologer and understand the future. If we have some desire for some purpose, then we can do it. Usually people want to go to the astrologer to get the future because they're worried. And they're in a distressful situation now, and they want to know what the future holds for them. Is it going to continue, or is it going to get better, etc. That's the main reason people go to astrologers. If you don't have that worry, then you don't have to go to the astrologer. But as I said, even if we're not so worried about the future or whatever, sometimes it's good to know what's in the future so we can make plans now. And based on that, we can do things. We don't have to waste our time in the future. Well, it's the same in other fields like medicine. You go to the doctor says, well, you've got cancer and you're going to die in 3 years. What does he do? Is he going to tell you the truth, or is he going to not tell you the truth? Because you may react in different ways. Yeah? So you can take a positive approach, or you can take a negative approach. So the same with astrology. You can take it in different ways, and therefore the astrologer also has to be very discreet. And he may not tell them the full predictions in one sense, because the person may not be able to handle it. It may be very depressing in the future for 5-10 years or something. So he may not. He has to be discreet, not to overly give a gloomy outcast or whatever. In any case, even if it is a gloomy outcast, the astrologer also has the responsibility to tell the person how to rectify the situation. That's the use of astrology. It's not just to tell your future, but if you have a bad future, to tell you how you can rectify it. In other words, with knowledge, we can somewhat mitigate the results. According to the particular karma, it may be very serious, and therefore it's very difficult to get rid of the full effect. In other cases, it's mild, so therefore we can do more and alleviate more of the effect. So there's different remedial measures by which we can counteract the particular problem. Just as the doctor may give you some medicine, it's very effective for a particular disease. Some diseases are very serious, and it's more difficult to get perfect cure or whatever. So the doctor has to use his knowledge and his abilities to give the right medicine to get the correct effect. So the same with the astrologer. They have to be discreet in their analysis and what they tell person, and also they have to give some solution to the problem to the best of their abilities. Astrology is not the only solution to everything, but it's one way of looking at the problems of life, because it analyzes your karmas. And then if we do have bad karma, then in astrology the way to alter the bad karma is to do good activities now. So in other words, we do have an opportunity in this life to change things to some degree. So I said some karmas are very serious, more difficult to change, some are easier to change. However, there's a simpler method of altering everything, and that is spiritual life. So if we get to real serious spiritual life, and we connect with the Supreme Lord in the name of the Supreme Lord, we can destroy karmas very easily. So this is the simplest method possible. So if people are willing to take that method, fine. Then they can get a very easy solution to their karmas. Everybody wants happiness. It's the very nature of all living entities. Animals also want happiness. Plants also want happiness. They all struggle to survive and prosper and flourish and reproduce, etc. So that's natural to the human being also. Unfortunately, the human being is a very special animal. He's got more intelligence than others. And also he's got a tendency to let his senses go out of control. More than the animals or plants, which don't have much senses at all. So the human being has the possibility of using his senses in all sorts of unimaginable ways to get his enjoyment, where the animals generally don't do that. So this is the problem of the human being, our unlimited capacity to try to get new forms of enjoyment. And this causes a lot of problems. It causes conflict between human beings, conflict between human beings and animals, conflict between human being and environment. So we get a lot of problems because of this. We go to excesses as human beings. And therefore, in going to all these excesses, we're going beyond our real nature, and consequently we suffer. So in our desire to get enjoyment, more enjoyment, we end up with more suffering. So the real important point is that the human being has to understand how to get his enjoyment. What is that enjoyment and how to get it? And when we ask that question, then the answer is actually the enjoyment has nothing to do with your senses and your body at all. It has to do with the soul. And if the soul can develop enjoyment, then we get real happiness. So then how do we get enjoyment of the soul? We develop a relationship of love between the soul and the Supreme Lord. And that's how we get our enjoyment. And there's no problem for the world at all in that. It solves all the conflicts with the world. The human being becomes self-contained. He doesn't waste things. He doesn't intrude on others. And he's very peaceful. Yeah, so this attitude of blaming the world is actually a reflection of their, an escape. It's actually an escape from responsibility. We create our own situation in this lifetime due to our karmas, we can say, or even in this lifetime. We create our situations. And what may look very bad for us is not bad for somebody else. He may tolerate the situation or take it as a good challenge or whatever. So it's all in how we look at the material world. If we want to blame everybody else for our situation, we can, but that's not going to solve the situation. So basically, each human being has to govern his own life, or be captain of his own ship, so to speak, and cross over this ocean of material existence by his own endeavor. So that means that we have to be very careful how we respond to everything in this material world and take a positive outlook, and use every input that comes our way, every circumstance, as a stepping stone to transcend all of this, all the problems of the world. And when we do that, we'll be very satisfied. We'll be very peaceful and satisfied. So we shouldn't blame others for our situation. We should look inside and try to find the key to seeing the world in a more positive light. And to do that, ultimately, we have to take the spiritual life. this is, of course, general. There's always exceptions to the rule, but and this is one aspect of astrology, to choose times. So a very simple method is days of the week. Everybody knows the days of the week. So the one day to avoid is Tuesday in general, because that is ruled by Mars, and Mars rules conflict. So therefore you do things in those days, you end up in conflict. That project gets in conflict or whatever. And the second day is Saturday, ruled by Saturn. Saturn means it's a slow planet, so it delays things. So you start things on Saturday, generally the project gets delayed. So these are the 2 days. Third day is Sunday. Don't do something on Sunday, because the sun is also a hot planet. So that tends to cause disagreements also. So basically the worst one is Tuesday next to Saturday, then Sunday. That's very simplest. Then there's lunar days also. And there's also the nakshatra, or the constellation of the moon, but that's a little more complicated for normal people. They don't know about those things. But anyway, even the days of the week are important.